Greetings, everyone. My name is Will, and I'm here with a tarot forecast for Aries. This is going to be primarily looking at the week of the 22nd through the 28th of March. Spring has just begun, and in addition to that, we actually just had an eclipse in Pisces that happened just yesterday. So in light of that, I really wanted to start doing, tarot forecasts for all of the signs. And I thought that this would be a really opportune time to do it because we have some pretty significant things going on, not only astrologically, but, with the turn of the seasons and what have you. So I want to begin with Aries at the beginning of the zodiac. This is going to apply to you not only if you are an Aries, if you have a sun in Aries, but also if you have Aries on the ascendant. So primarily those two things. I'm not really dealing with the moon signs here. So ascendant or sun in Aries. In addition to that, if you have one, I suggest you also watch the video for the other. So for example, if you haven't, a sun in Taurus but Aries on the ascendant, definitely watch the Taurus video as well because that'll probably apply to you in some regard. Just to save time, what I've done here, I've already shuffled the cards and I've dealt out 3 for us here. And these are going to be more general positions. Like I've said before, I don't really like to, have positions that are too regimented. And I like to read, the spread itself a little bit more intuitively. What we have here, we actually have a Page of Wands, we have an 8 of Cups, and we have a 10 of Pentacles. The Page of Wands, I think, is really interesting. I think that this kind of describes the situation as it is right now in your life. It describes somebody who has very much a give everything a go kind of attitude. I know a lot of people really get this way in the spring where they kind of, I guess the feeling that I'm getting for you is that you are embodying this kind of restless energy, this formless angst, and that's really becoming manifest in the sense that you're maybe trying everything, you're going out, you're being very social, or you're meeting a lot of people. I think that you may be rushing a lot of things, maybe very quickly forming a lot of friendships and allowing them to maybe fall apart, or kind of pursuing a relationship maybe half-heartedly, maybe something that you're not completely interested in, but just maybe kind of giving it a go. I think you're very much, the Page of Wands itself, being a wand card, is a card of transformation. It's a very dynamic type of energy. It's a fire card. I think that it definitely, describes your situation right now as being something that's very lissom and very flexible and very dynamic. You're really excited in changing your life just in little minute ways, breaking out of old social patterns, just what you fill your day with, I think, is very, very flexible right now. And you're very, very excited and very interested in changing that. I think it's also very important here, in light of this, we have this 8 of Cups. And that's a pretty heavy card. I mean, when we look at it here, it shows a man who's trekking through the mountains alone. And we have the moon up here, which tells us that it's a very heavy card of intuition, emotion. It has a lot to do with keeping things in balance, and that's kind of the key words that are coming to me with the 8 of Cups. Make sure that even though you're going through all of these changes and you're very excited about bringing new things into your life, new energies, new people, make sure that everything is still serving you spiritually as well. Obviously, everything in our life has this kind of material, spiritual balance, and I feel like the Page of Wands, one of its faults is that it may lean more towards focusing more on the material side of things. And the 8 of Cups reminds us to keep things in a spiritual balance, and that there's this economy between the material in this world and the spiritual, and how one is serving the other. And I think it's really important for you. You're in a very vulnerable time, just because the Page of Wands energy is so restless and so active. and can be so transformative. I think it's important that you remember that it may be exciting, and this may be a very exciting week in your life, but also make sure that these things that you're bringing in are spiritual in nature as well, and and that they're things that serve you, and nourish you, I guess, at that level. Um, we also have the Ten of Pentacles, which in my opinion is kind of feeding into this Eight of Cups energy. The Ten of Pentacles can talk, it talks about completion, just in the sense that the Ten of any suit is going to talk about completion. But primarily the Ten of Pentacles is going to be, it highlights being a part of a greater purpose or a greater family. Not necessarily family just in the blood ties sense, but also the people around you that you call family, your friends, the people closest to you that know your situation just as well as you know it yourself. This week I think it's very important for you to pay homage to that greater network that you're a part of. I think that these are the people that are going to ground you. I also think that these are the people that are going to feed you spiritually, like we said, what was necessary with this Eight of Cups. They're also going to kind of steer you in the right direction. I mean, it's great that you have all this energy to pull things into focus, to pull things into fruition into your life, to pull these new things into your reality. But it's also important that you keep these people around and you keep these institutions around to ground you and to keep you steady and to keep you on the level. I think that there's very much kind of a balance that's going on right now. And I think that there's a lot of energy pushing in one direction, pushing for you to go out and do new things and meet new people and bring things into your life. And I think it's interesting that the two out of these three cards are just telling you to slow down and to remember that these things also have to serve a greater purpose other than just being exciting. So what I'd like to do now, I want to go ahead and take the Lenormand cards and kind of put these onto these three just to give us a little bit more insight. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take 3 cards for each of these 3 tarot cards, and that's going to give us, I think, some real-world application. I find that the Lenormand cards typically talk more about day-to-day issues, or I guess real-world issues, whereas, the tarot is maybe a little bit more prone to being more spiritual, I guess, in nature. It's easier to talk about, your philosophy and your life outlook with tarot, whereas the Lenormand will tell you maybe a little bit more mundanely what's going on. All right. So for the first, I guess, triad of cards, we have the Stars, which talks about your hopes and dreams, the Rider, which complements the Page of Wands in the sense that it's new things coming into your life, and we also have the Anchor, card number 35, which for me can talk about a few things. I think we can look at it from a few ways. Either that can express the duality. We have the Page of Wands, which, as we said, is kind of this hyper mania pulling things into your life, and the Anchor is a very grounded energy. For me, in a real world sense, the Anchor talks about your job. I think in some way, the people that you work with, whatever you do, whatever your daily grind is, I think that those people are going to be very, very influential, or I think you're going to be connecting to those people in a new way. The Rider talks about, pulling things into your life. Like I said, it complements that kind of energy. There's definitely going to be something new here. coming in, and I think it's going to actually hit you in a very emotional way. I think either you're going to become a lot closer to the people that you work with. If maybe you're flirting with somebody at work, or there's that kind of energy with somebody that you work with, I think that that's going to kind of become activated within the next week. I think that that's something that you need to be awfully careful of. I mean, obviously, there's that saying, you know, don't shit where you eat. Definitely watch the way that you react to the people that you work with. I guess the same is true, like, if you're a student, or, you know, in college, whatever you do on the daily, that is your daily routine, watch how you react to those people, because I think that that situation could very easily become kind of volatile within the next week. And then for the Eight of Cups, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So we also have the heart, the ways, or the crossroads, and we have the key. Now, I mean, looking at these cards and going off of what we know from the tarot, I think that a lot of the energy that you're pulling into your life is this kind of like relationship thing. Either maybe you're looking for a relationship, or you're rebounding into something new, or maybe you're not being completely honest with how you feel about somebody, or maybe you're not being completely transparent. But I think that with this upcoming week, you're actually going to have to make a choice, or you're going to be presented with an ultimatum, and it's going to be something that's going to be pretty important. I think it's going to be probably, I mean, I think it's from somebody new. It's from somebody newer in your life that you don't have a ton of history with. And I think that you need to be ready for that decision. I mean, like I said, I think you're at a crossroads. A crossroad in the sense of it's an injunction. Whenever I see the ways card or the crossroad card, it's a splitting off into two ways. It's almost like a T crossroad, as opposed to, you know, a crossroad that would be like an X. You can no longer continue on the path that you have. I think that you're going to have to choose either A or B within the next week. And I think that that's going to be a pretty monumental choice that actually, you know, the repercussions of which actually, you know, extend past, I guess, the next 7 days. Let's see. What we have here for the Ten of Pentacles. We have the lilies. The cross. Yeah. Okay. And the coffin. Um, so the lilies is a card that can describe things that are older than yourself. When we're inflecting that meaning on top of somebody else, say like the man card or the woman card, it's going to represent somebody who is more mature than you or more experienced than you. They can even be physically older than you. Um, it also talks about sex or your sexuality, how you interpret um, your sexual activity. Just, I guess, in a meta sense, lilies is sex. We have the cross, which for me talks about a very painful decision. It can be consequences. I don't know. I think this. I mean, I think you really need to be careful with I think who you are intimate with and who you sleep with, and I think that these cards can kind of. To me, they talk about confusing love and intimacy with passion and sex. I think we have this interesting duality here with the heart card and the lilies being really close to one another. Um, I think that I think that there's somebody in your life. It's probably somebody that you work with, or if not work with, it's somebody that you see every day. Um, that maybe things have been kind of steamy for a while, but it's really going to come to a melting point, or a boiling point, excuse me, and probably a melting point within the next 7 days. Um, and I don't think that it's going to be something that really develops into a long-term situation. I actually think that this is going to be kind of a one and done type of energy. Um, you definitely need to be careful with that. I mean, remember, you know, sex is obviously something that's very, very intimate, and I think unfortunately a lot of people are starting to forget that and are turning it into something that's, as mundane and as base as washing your hands. I definitely encourage you to remember that sex is a very spiritual thing. It's something that's very sacred. It just as that old saying is, your body is the temple of God. Even though, maybe we're not all Christian, or we didn't all grow up in, Judeo-Christian religions, I think that that's something that's very, very, very true. And I would encourage you to remember that. I think that there's going to be some kind of something pretty, some kind of sexual encounter, something very intimate that happens within the next week. Or maybe somebody's going to kind of pursue that with you. I think, I think that is neither good nor bad. I'm not going to tell you to do this or to go after it or to, pursue this person. I definitely think that it's something that you need to understand the ramifications of. And I think that that's what these cards are trying to tell us. Definitely remember that, those you keep around you and those that you are intimate with, they affect you in ways that are bigger than yourself, or that are more overarching, I think, than what we readily, realize. But I think that these are ultimately good cards. I mean, we have a lot of cards of change. I think they're cards that reflect the time of year, with a lot of things kind of blossoming very quickly, and a lot of feelings and emotions kind of coming to a boiling point very, very fast. I think that kind of is very congruent with the springtime. I would just say, remember to temper those things, just as we saw with the Eight of Cups. Remember that everything has to serve you spiritually as well. So maybe this kind of, liaison, that could happen. Remember, if it doesn't serve you spiritually, it really doesn't have a long-term place in your life. And I think that these cards are just telling us to be, cognizant of that. Absolutely. So thank you so much for joining me, Aries, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Again, this is a reading for the 22nd through the 28th. Ideally, I'd like to be going through all of the zodiac signs, but We'll see exactly if that happens or not. It may take me a few days, but thanks again, and you enjoy the rest of your week.